We've looked at the vine, we've looked at the flowers, and now we're going to look at the leaves for the beanstalk. And what I'm using here are art straws. Now this does not work with plastic straws. It has to be these paper art straws. Now most of the schools that I've worked in have always had cases and cases of art straws that haven't actually been used. They are just like ordinary old-fashioned straws made out of paper, slightly longer, perhaps it's like as long as about 30 centimeters or thereabouts. And what we're going to do is we're going to make some leaves using these. Now I'll choose a colour that might stand out a bit more. So here I've got some art straws. These are the thinner ones. These don't necessarily have to be the quite thick ones. And what you're going to do is, instead of having them all at the same length, you're going to have them at 3 different lengths, maybe about 1 inch different. And what you do is put a piece of sellotape around there, not right at the very tip, but just so that you've got a little bit underneath, and then you're going to plait that, not too tightly, so you still have quite long lengths left at the end. This is going to be so that you can attach this to the rest of the vine or on your display. And I know I've chosen non-biological colours. There's not many red bodied plants, but that's just so you can see it. I've got to say I quite like that. And you plait that together, and for the main body of the actual leaf, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a thicker art straw, because art straws quite often come in 2 thicknesses. This one's quite thin, but even that has got quite a good structure. Okay, I'll just put a little bit of sellotape again at the end there. Nobody will see and nobody will know if we don't tell them. And there you've got what's going to be the attachment to the leaf. Now, to make the leaf itself, you take one of these art straws and you roughly find about the halfway point, and you fold it in half. That's not bad. And you leave this part, because if you think about a vine leaf, they're quite often in a heart shape. What you do is you leave about 3 inches, nip it in and flatten it down like that. Like that, can you see that? So you made the V shape, and you're going to twist that round, and you're going to twist that round, and you pull that round like that, and there you've got your heart shape like that. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to staple it for quickness. A little bit of manipulation, and they don't have to be uniform size or shape. And you put the two together by placing that on top of there. And now, with these extra lengths that you've got, you bend them in the same way as you would have in a real leaf. You would bend them, and this is going to give some strength to your leaf. And you bend them around and place them like that, and that's the basis of the leaf that you're going to make. Now, I've tried making these using ordinary cellulose glue, and it doesn't really work that well. I'm going to show you a variety of things that you can attach them to, but I've used a piece of tissue paper, and you have got to be very careful when you're using a variety of tissue papers and crepe papers, because they do stain. Always put something plastic underneath. Here I'm using an old Polly Pocket or document folder, and you just have to simply take a piece of tissue, and if it's got a corner, that's all the best. Lay your piece of your leaf inside, and you place that on the top. And again, this goes back to the actual strength of the glue and the paper, giving this some rigidity. And here you take some of your PVA, and you just run it along the top of here. It doesn't have to be accurately placed. Place it on top of there, and purely and simply hold it in place and fold this over. Fold it over, fold it over. So that means that that first layer of PVA is holding the tissue in place. You wrap that around. And what happens, especially with tissue paper, is that that sinks through. It sinks through, attaches all of these layers that you folded over the top. It doesn't have to be that every single inch of it is in place. And when that's set and dried, it's then that you use some cellulose glue on top of that. If you just wait 2 seconds, I'll just take that round. And you can see that it has got multiple layers. It does look like a real leaf. Just bear with me here while I get some. Obviously you would leave this to set and to dry, but I'm doing it so you can see that you just press some cellulose glue on top of that. Now it's the PVA that actually causes the glue to actually run, and you would leave that to set and to dry, and what it comes out like is like this. Now what I did was, instead of just leaving it flat on a surface like that, was I rested it against a tube. I'll just use this stapler here, and you rest it so that as it dries, it gives it a structure. Okay, so there's a very simple leaf that's made with a single layer of tissue paper, PVA, and with some cellulose glue. To make your leaves look even more interesting, you can do not just use crepe paper or tissue paper, but you could use a variety of images. And what I've got here is I've laid the basis of the leaf down, and this is using a sheet of A4 paper with a picture printed on the other side. Again, it's this aspect of folding it all over, dabbing plenty of glue on. And it's the glue and the fact that the straws have been splayed out which give this some rigidity. Just put a little bit more on there. You pull these over on top of each other. Better to get your fingers involved here. Flatten it all out. I nearly did a Rolf Harris there. Can you guess what the picture is of yet? Pull that round, pull that up, push that up to there, perhaps just pull that to one side, that's it. It is always important if you're using papier-mâché, get your fingers involved and push it down, and I can feel those straws of the splayed out, and the picture is of the flower that I showed you. The Turkish rose. Well, in amongst all of the others, that's going to be quite striking. It is a photograph, but it's got a lot of structure that goes with it. And another one that you could use is this, which is actually of a large rubber plant on one of those larger leaves, which I'm going to show you how to make soon. And it doesn't have to be just images. Here I've got a story that I've written in a mock and punning way about Jack and the Beanstalk. Here it is, the Daily Bean, all the news that's fit to stalk about. It costs 1 golden guinea. Giant hops on about loss of eggs. In a recent interview, Mr. G. Ian T. has revealed that he has been the victim of a number of burglaries, but has not been able to give the true origin of the goods stolen. "I was robbed," he sobbed. So here you have the full structure of a newspaper, strap lines, headlines, and here at the bottom you've even got a byline, so you can write up a story. Again, this is on the disc that goes with the whole project, but you could use that. I'm going to be using copies of the programme for the Jack and the Beanstalk pantomime, but again you must leave it to set, and again if you rest it against something, give it a little bit of a twist and leave it to stand to dry. Resting against something, it gives it a very interesting shape and structure.